Okay, just completed the inspection. So overall, the house is nice and tidy. All taking into consideration that it is about 2.5 years old. Generally, maintenance is always needed to properties, and really important to maintain a property in a prudent and timely manner. The idea is the better the maintenance, the more durable a building will be in the overall scheme of things. So always keep that in mind when owning and maintaining a property. Really nothing outstanding that needs to be reported on. Things are fairly straightforward. You'll see the video, self-explanatory, and nothing there that should necessarily deter you. So view the video, take it all in. Any questions, certainly get back to me and ask me those questions. Property to be inspected is a double-storey self-standing dwelling. The dwelling is facing due south for the purpose of the report. The land has a very slight gradient from north to south, generally level from east to west. Concrete tiled hip and valley roof detail, a clad exterior to the upper level and brick exterior to the lower level. Concrete driveway, sealed crossover of the council nature strip. The front of the property is this large pit. More than likely that may be associated to a bit of a retention or stormwater retention system, but there's quite possibly an easement that does run through the western side of the property, and just beyond the western boundary is an electrical Sydney electricity type unit. The water meter is located to the southeast corner of the property, and you've also got grey water. So the grey water is the one in purple, used for gardening, toilets and the like. Wherever there are timber sleepers in the yard, timbers in direct contact with the ground will naturally absorb moisture from the ground. As they absorb that moisture from the ground, they start to decay, deteriorate, and with the decay and deterioration, they do become more susceptible to the likes of termites. That's just the nature of timber in direct contact with the ground, so certainly be aware of that. At the front of the property there is an inspection opening, more than likely to the sewer. Whether there is a sewer easement that runs through the front of the property. Looking at the roof detail to this eastern side, all appears to be quite okay. There is an antenna fitted to the roof, and a nice tidy detail from what we can see. Looking at the western side of the roof, also appears to be reasonable. Valley metal detail, quite okay. The sewer vent extends through the roof to this western side. Wherever you get a penetration through a roof, those are areas where leaks can potentially develop, so those are areas that may need maintenance from time to time. Front porch detail, a painted concrete detail with these brick columns with a bit of a bagged coloured render, all appears to be okay. The soffit over the front porch also appears to be reasonable. Just a little bit of weathering occurring, and those are details that may need preparation prior to future redecoration. Looking at the detail thermally, no evidence of any moisture penetration to those details. Just starting in the garage, simply because we've got access to the garage. Concrete slab on ground. With concrete slab on ground, you do get some hairline cracks. That is the nature of concrete, and not a real concern. Stored items located within the garage detail certainly obstruct visual inspection to some degree, and there is the potential for faults to go undetected. Where we've got the lined wall between the interior of the garage and the interior of the dwelling, that comes down onto the concrete slab on ground. Always beneficial to be able to see that step down detail, because those are areas where potentially the likes of termites could come up and go undetected. So it's nice if you can leave that entire detail fully exposed for periodic inspections and the like. Ceilings generally appear to be okay, a little bit of weathering, and that is simply because of wet cars that get parked within the garage detail. Motorised roller door looks to be in good order, no binding, all appears to be fine. Ceilings generally okay, no real issues there. Door of the garage to the interior of the dwelling appears to be quite okay, no real issues. Looking at the bottom of the door, it has not been painted. Really good idea to paint the bottoms of the doors, particularly those doors to wet areas, to the garage, to the exterior. It protects the door from any moisture being absorbed into the base of the door and causing swelling or delamination of the veneer, and certainly worthwhile to paint up those doors. They should have been painted with 2 coats of sealer prior to the hanging of the door. Entry door detail, a bit of a tiled area over a concrete slab on ground. The entry door itself, just binding slightly, just needs to be eased and adjusted as part of your general ongoing maintenance. Again, the bottom of the door has not been painted. Really good idea just to paint those details up. To this entry area, walls no higher than normal moisture readings observed, ceilings quite okay. There is an alarm fitted. I'm not testing the alarm during this inspection. Aluminium windows all appear to be quite okay, all in sliding order. Just important to keep your bottom tracks nice and clean so you don't get excessive wear of the wheels of such an aluminium detail, and also a good idea just to wipe down your aluminium surfaces once every 6 months, say. Just protects the powder coated finishes of that aluminium. Smoke detector fitted. Where a smoke detector is battery operated, you do need to replace batteries periodically. General rule of thumb is replace batteries every turn of season. Where they're hardwired, you don't need to replace the battery. So looking at the detail thermally, we can see that it generates heat, and that indicates that that is a hardwired smoke detector. The void under the internal stair, we see that the lining's a little bit out of whack. That is a set out from the time of construction, no post-construction movement as such. These wall linings, some of the details have not been completely finished off. It is generally a storage area, so we don't get concerned about that. Stored items within this area certainly obstruct visual inspection to some degree. But from what we can see in those timbers that are visible, we're not seeing anything that raises a concern. So all that looks to be quite okay, no real issues there. Lounge room detail, carpeted floor coverings, a little bit of wear, but all in all looks to be okay. Walls no higher than normal moisture readings observed. Now, with the gypsum plasterboard walls, we do see, a little bit of a curvature in those skirting details. Again, that's set out at the time of construction. Not much you can do about that now. Ceilings generally appear to be okay. Aluminium window to the western side, good order, no issues there. Family room to the rear, and this is to the rear northeast corner. Carpeted floor coverings, walls no higher than normal moisture readings observed. Again, a sensor for the alarm. Split air conditioning unit and gas provided for space heating. Aluminium window to the eastern side, so this is great. You've got an aluminium window to the eastern side, you've got an aluminium window to the western side, allows for good cross flow ventilation of this lower level living area, so that's quite a benefit. Aluminium sliding door to the northern side or to the rear is in good working order, and those wheels are quite okay. Just important to keep your bottom tracks properly clean so you don't get excessive wear of the wheels of such a sliding door detail. And again, good idea just to wipe down the aluminium profiles from time to time as part of your general ongoing maintenance. All in all, appears to be quite okay. So the air conditioning unit, the split unit, just activating that, and that is in working order. Just coming to the living area, so I'll start from this rear side. We look at the timber framing, the studs, noggins all appear to be quite okay. Not observing any significant thermal inconsistencies. We can see that there is thermal insulation within the wall cavities. Coming around to the lounge room and looking at those details thermally, again, details appear to be pretty straightforward, no real issues. Looking at the ceiling details of this rear living area, also appears quite reasonable, and nothing significant being observed. We see that we've got areas with your upper level detail, and then a bit of a roof detail to this northeastern side, so that all appears to be okay. Detail, looking at that thermally, also appears quite reasonable. Entry door, no issues. This whole entry lobby to the base of the internal stair, also that framing, all clear, and it looks fairly straightforward, so not observing anything that raises too much of a concern. Looking at the garage detail, also these details appear to be fairly reasonable, and really no significant issues being observed. That wall in between the interior of the dwelling and the garage, also no issues there. Laundry detail, tiled flooring, and no, there is a visible floor waste. The walls nice and dry. Wall out, door out to the exterior. Once again, just the bottoms of the doors have not been painted, so a really good idea to paint the bottoms of the doors. It's all about prolonging their durability as best as possible. Certainly in good order, no issues there. Water flow to the tub is fine, no water hammer being observed. Drainage appears to be good. There is an S-trap under that sink detail. Taps provided for the washing machine, and you've got your power points, and you know, you get your power to those details. Bit of spider webbing up in the corners, that is just a build-up of humidity with a laundry detail. Always beneficial to consider an extraction fan out to the exterior. Laundry appliances generally create a lot of humidity, and it would always be beneficial to extract that humidity to the exterior of the building. It does have a door to the exterior to provide for some ventilation, but it's not the same as a fan that you'd activate on a regular basis. Toilet detail, tiled flooring, visible floor waste or floor drain. Contains the narrow sink and a toilet bowl. Water flow to the mixer tap is fine. O-rings, no leaks to those, and there is an S-trap under the sink detail. So that is a nice tidy detail. Toilet stable, water flow is good, drainage is good. That indicates that the drains are clear, no cracks being observed to the porcelain, and no leaks being observed to any of the plumbing. So all in all, quite okay. There is this access opening, and that is to the underslung plumbing of a bathroom above. We look through that area, and it looks as though the bathroom above has compressed fibre cement sheet flooring from what we can see from this area. There is an extraction fan. With the extraction fan, just worthwhile going over it with the vacuum cleaner and cleaning off that build-up of felt. Prolongs the durability of the fan, puts less stress on the fan motor and the bearing itself. Kitchen detail currently being cleaned. Tiled flooring, a laminated particle board benchtop, electric stove, oven under the stove, and a range hood detail over the stove. Dishwasher under the benchtop, and a stainless steel sink. There is an aluminium window to the northern side, and that window is in good working order. Mixer tap, water flow is fine, no water hammer being observed, no leaks to the O-rings or the seals of that detail. Now with the interface of the benchtop and the surrounds, very important to keep that interface well sealed. What we get concerned about is moisture dropping down the rear of the kitchen cupboards, and that moisture then having the potential to attract the likes of termites per se. So always important to reseal those details from time to time as part of your general ongoing maintenance. S-trap under the sink, all those details appear to be okay. You do get a bit of weathering under those details, and part of that is because of condensate that forms to the surrounds of a sink detail when filled with water. All in all, looks to be alright. There are a few moisture stains where possibly past leaks when a plumber's been fitting the details and whatnot, but all in all, reasonable. Oven detail currently being cleaned. I just turned the oven on, see the fans working, see the lights working. One would assume that that is in good working order. The 4 hot plates also in working order, and the range hood detail is a non-ducted range hood, so it just recirculates. One of the light globes is burnt out, but that fan is in working order, just a bit noisy, so something must be hitting one of the fan blades causing that sort of noise. And again, this cover strip is a little bit loose, just needs some attention. Now, kitchen cupboard doors, you do have various markings over the, just due to normal wear and tear as such. Power point, and this is for the oven to turn off your oven hot plate, but that switch will need a repair. It's just a matter of an electrician coming in and just replacing that particular part of the switch. Pantry detail. Within the pantry detail, again, there's an electrical point, so that's nice and handy. You've also got your fridge recess with the electrical point. All in all, looks to be reasonable from what we can see. So with the tap, I'm just running the hot water, and so we can see that we're getting hot water supply to this lower level. That's just a good indicator of our hot water unit working. Also see that the 4 elements of the stove are in working order. Looking at the ceiling detail and the like, thermally all appears to be okay. Walls, no issues, and really no significant thermal inconsistencies being observed to the kitchen area. Thermally, looking at the laundry, also appears to be fine. Looking at the underside of that upper level bathroom and not seeing anything, any moisture or the like coming through from that upper level bathroom. So that all appears to be quite okay. Internal stair detail to the upper level has carpeted coverings. Now on this lower flight of stairs, it lacks an appropriate grab railing. Ideally, a grab railing should be installed to such a stair detail. Bedroom detail to the southeast corner of the upper level. Carpeted flooring, nice and sturdy. Walls, no higher than normal moisture readings observed. Aluminium windows, quite okay. Good working order, and really no issues there. Just with the light, the actual light fitting or cover has been removed at this stage. I can just see it in the wardrobe. That is being cleaned up. Some of these rubber strips to the mirrored sliding doors just need to be inserted back into the profile. Not hard to do, and that's just general maintenance in that sense. The mirrored doors of the built-in robe, good working order, and the bedroom door also good working order. So all in all, pretty straightforward and quite reasonable. Just looking at the details thermally, timber framing, studs, noggins and the like, get a really good view and not seeing anything out of the ordinary. So all in all, that detail or this bedroom looks to be quite okay and nothing really to report on. Bit of an opportunity to look through this southern window of the southeast bedroom, and we can see the roofing detail over the top of the front entry porch. It does have a box gutter detail. Really important to keep that box gutter detail properly clean so you don't get blockages and overflowing to the surrounding areas. And also with the flashings, where they come up and attach or are perched to the brickwork, they've got a sealant. The sealant, when it gets exposed to the UV and to the heat, will eventually dry out, crack, and it does need to be reapplied or sealants repaired from time to time as part of your general ongoing maintenance. Particularly important with this type of roof detail as such. There are a couple of areas just missing a little bit of mortar along this edge. It would be nice to get some mortar just to deflect the water off so it doesn't go down in between the brickwork in those areas. You know, it's not a capped type of detail in this instance. Master bedroom detail to the southwest corner of the upper level. Timber flooring, again nice and sturdy. Aluminium windows to the southern side and to the western side. And on the western side we've also got a split air conditioning unit. Walls no higher than normal moisture readings observed. All appear to be quite okay. Ceiling quite reasonable, no issues there. Just the door of the bedroom is binding slightly. Just needs to be eased and adjusted. Very slight bind at the top of the door. A little bit of settlement obviously has occurred since the time of original construction. A walk-in robe type detail. Again, all appears to be quite okay. Just with the shelving, you can see a little bit of a sag in the shelving, and that is because normally the weight of clothing or stored items contributes to that sagging. Not a bad idea just to put in a small post just along this edge to be able to pick up that weight so it's not all cantilevered. Once you put the weight on it, you get typically that sort of deflection. Access opening located to the roof void located within this walk-in robe. So looking at the details thermally, all appears to be fairly straightforward. Walls, no real issues there, not seeing anything out of the ordinary. Get a good view of the timber framing and also your ceiling. Just some of the thermal insulation within the roof void needs redistribution for improved efficiency, but all in all, quite okay. Ensuite detail contains a vanity, a toilet and your shower. So we just go back to the rear of the shower recess within the walk-in robe, test that with the moisture meter and or moisture encounter, and there's no evidence of moisture penetration of the surrounds. Ensuite, tiled flooring, visible floor waste. The mixer tap to the vanity is quite okay. No leaks being observed to any of these seals. Hot water appears to be on the left hand side, which is the correct side, and you have an S-trap under that sink detail. Again, a bit of wear and tear as some moisture's got into this custom wood, caused a little bit of swelling. You get a little bit of swelling to the base of the doors due to humidity and moisture in these areas. Toilet bowl is stable. Water flow, quite okay. Drainage is good, so that's always a good indicator. No cracks to the porcelain and no leaks being observed to the plumbing. Aluminium window, quite okay. Extraction fan fitted to the ceiling, and that fan is in working order. Once again, good idea, just with the vacuum cleaner, go over that detail, remove any felt build-up, so to speak. The base of the door of the ensuite again has not been painted, so really good idea to paint the bottom of that door. The door itself is in good working order. Shower recess, water flow to the shower robe is fine. No water hammer being observed. Hot water again on the left hand side, that's the correct detail. We just let it run, see that water drains well into the drain within the shower recess, and there's no evidence of moisture penetration of the surrounds. With the tap spindles, very important to make sure that you seal the surrounds of those tap spindles properly, so you don't get water running down the wall tiles into the wall cavity and creating moisture to elevated areas. So you may just need to reseal that from time to time. They have sealed it in the past, and that's a good indicator of good maintenance or good building practice. Just looking at the detail thermally, the surrounds of the shower recess, no evidence of moisture penetration. All in all, that ensuite is fine. Upper level hall detail, carpeted floor coverings. There is a linen press or a cupboard detail in this area. You've got an additional smoke detector, and that smoke detector also appears to be hardwired. We look at that thermally and it generates heat. Closet or linen press, it generally appears to be quite okay and no issues there. Looking at the walls and ceiling of the hall, all in all looks to be reasonable. No real issues being observed, so quite a tidy detail in that sense. Bedroom detail to the western side of the dwelling, so it's the middle bedroom on the western side. Walls no higher than normal moisture readings observed. Aluminium window to the western side, and the ceiling is quite okay. Built-in robe with the mirror doors, also in good working order and no issues there. Tidy, nothing really to report on. Looking at the details thermally, you get a pretty good view again of the timber framing, studs, noggins and the like. Surrounds of the windows all dry and no real condensation or any details of that type, so nice and tidy. Bedroom detail to the north west corner of the upper level. Aluminium windows are quite okay. Carpeted floor coverings, built-in robe also appears to be quite reasonable. No issues there. The door is in working order and is not binding. What we can see is that there's a very slight dip in the floor around the door detail on this level, and you can actually pick that up in how the door binds to that carpet and then glides over the top of the carpet, no issue. So just a very slight dip, nothing concerning, and typical with particle board floor details. So looking at the details thermally, again, really not getting any significant thermal inconsistencies. A bit of the thermal insulation just needs redistribution for improved efficiency, but all in all, nice and tidy and quite straightforward. Upper level bathroom, it contains a vanity, a toilet, a bath and a shower, tiled flooring, visible floor waste or floor drain. Vanity unit, water flow quite okay. Again, hot water on the left hand side and no issues there. And there is an S-trap under that sink detail. Less weathering to these doors than what you get in the ensuite. Toilet stable, water flow appears to be quite okay, drainage is good, so that's always a good indicator that the drains are clear and no leaks being observed to any of the plumbing. Bath detail, there are no vents fitted to the side of the bath. It would be beneficial to have vents to the side of the bath as such, but if a bath is not really used then it's not a big deal. The idea of the vents is that when the bath is filled with water you get condensate to the exterior of the bath and those vents allow for that condensate to air off as such. What we do get with the bath typically is when you fill a bath with water, the weight of the water causes some movement of that bathtub. And that movement eventually breaks the seal between the surrounds of the bath and the surrounding tiles. Once that seal breaks, what we get really concerned about, particularly from a pest point of view, is moisture egress into the surrounds of the bath detail, and that moisture could then potentially attract the likes of termites. There is a window to the eastern side directly above the bath. The issue with that window is you really want to restrict the opening of the window to 125mm. Being an upper level, reason being an unsupervised child can climb on the bath, get up to the windowsill and then fall out that window detail. If you restrict the opening of the window, you reduce the risk of an unsupervised child falling out of the window opening. So again, water flow to the shower rows is quite okay, no issues there. Again, the hot water on the left hand side. Drainage to the shower recess is quite okay, and we just test that briefly during the inspection. No evidence of moisture penetration to surrounding areas being observed at this time. Shower screen, quite okay, and no issues there. Extraction fan fitted to the ceiling and is in good working order. Just again looking at the bottom of the door, and that bottom of the door has not been painted or sealed with 2 coats of sealer. So ideally you want to paint the bottoms of the doors. I reiterate, particularly important to wet areas and any doors out to the exterior. Okay, so coming to the exterior, starting from the eastern exterior of the dwelling, we've got a timber post, or the timber fence comes up and is attached to the exterior of the building. Theoretically, that is an area where termites can come up and go undetected. So you've got that risk factor that does exist. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a problem, but it's certainly not a bad idea. Just a little bit of chemical in the ground to prevent or protect yourself against concealed termite egress in that instance. External brickwork generally appears to be quite okay. Here and there you've got a little bit of a gap in some of this mortar. You can just come back with some white mortar and just repoint those details, but in general terms, within tolerances, all appears to be quite okay. You've got your weep holes to the base of the wall detail, and at the base of that weep hole detail is the damp course. It is set in quite a bit, but it is an alcohol damp course from what we can see. Generally speaking, quite okay. There is no exposed concrete slab edge. It would have been beneficial to have an exposed concrete slab edge, but the design of construction, or this style of construction, doesn't provide for that concrete slab edge right around the exterior of the building. So you just want to keep things like the weeds, plant growth, or pruned or mowed around the exterior of the building. Wherever you have stored items up against the exterior of the building, those are areas where potentially the likes of termites can come up and go undetected. So always preferable to store items well away from the exterior of the building to minimise your risk of concealed termite egress as such. Downpipe connected to a stormwater dispersal system. Again, we have the timber sleepers where they're in direct contact with the ground. As I said before, they will absorb moisture naturally from the ground, start to decay, deteriorate, and with the decay and deterioration they do become susceptible to the likes of termites. Where the timber is attached to the exterior of the building, again, that is a higher risk area for concealed termite egress. So always nice to have some sort of 20mm gap between those timbers and the exterior of the building if you can, and quite easy to do. Timber paling fence down the eastern side generally appears to be quite okay. You get a little bit of warping of the timbers. That is just the nature of timbers and really not a concern. Some of the palings over time, where they're in contact with the ground, will get some wicking of moisture into the grain of the timber. Again, just a natural deterioration. Rear porch detail is just a concrete slab on ground, fairly straightforward, and there is a metal Stratco type pergola detail attached to the rear of the dwelling, so they're quite easy maintenance. Just keep them clean, and, just clean them from time to time. Downpipe is connected to some sort of stormwater dispersal system, so that's advantageous. The wall of the dwelling generally appears to be okay, so once again, brickwork to the lower level and cladding to the upper level. The only issue that you get with that style of construction is at the top of the brickwork you've got a coping brick, and that you've got to make sure that wherever it interfaces with the flashings, that you don't get a crack in the sealants and a bit of a leak occurring. So a detail that does need maintenance from time to time. General rule of thumb is wash the exterior of the building once every 2 years, repaint once every 8 to 10 years. Looking down the western exterior of the dwelling, so details appear to be quite okay. There is an articulation joint in the brickwork. Again, the stored bricks against the exterior of the dwelling, those are areas where termites can come up and go undetected into the timber framing. Store items well away from the exterior of the dwelling, just not worth the heightened risk. Again, no exposed concrete slab edge along this side. You've got your hot water unit, which is a continuous flow gas hot water unit, and the date of manufacture is 2012, so that's approximately when construction would have occurred. Condenser unit of the split air conditioning unit to the master bedroom fitted to this western exterior, and we see up on the eave soffit detail at the front of the dwelling that there's a strobe light for the alarm. Now with the external cladding, wherever you've got the joints of the cladding, you've got to reseal those details from time to time to prolong the durability. Really important that upper level external cladding is to get it repainted once every 8 to 10 years, and it does need maintenance. You want to try and keep it clean and maintain it properly. Stormwater drain in the yard, the base of that drain contains some silt. Really good idea to clean out that silt from time to time so you don't get blockages of that stormwater dispersal system. We do see throughout the yard there are various drain points, so there has been pretty good drainage provided to the property, and all in all appears to be quite dry. Timber paling fence along the western side, so a great example of that moisture being absorbed into the base or wicking into the grain of the timber. They've had raised soil levels against that fence, and that has contributed to a little bit of a deterioration of that particular fence detail. A few timbers again in contact with the ground along that western fence line. So looking at the roof detail to the rear, generally appears to be okay. I can't see that back valley metal, and I'll have to get a ladder to look at that rear roof detail. There is no rotary extraction fan or whirlybird fitted to the roof. Really good idea to consider a whirlybird. You can see one on the neighbouring property. The idea of those is to humidity that naturally accumulates within the roof void. Such a whirlybird or extraction fan allows for that humidity to rise naturally out towards the upper atmosphere, and generally contributes to a drier, healthier, ventilated property. Just coming to this western exterior at the front of the dwelling, we've got the gas or mains gas connected to the dwelling, and that is beneficial. From what I could see, it's only the hot water unit and provision of gas for space heating that is connected. The kitchen has an electric stove in this instance. So coming to the front, to the eastern exterior of the dwelling, so in this area we've got water tap as grey water, and you've also got a regular water tap. There is the stake for the earthing of the electrical, so that appears to be quite okay. You do have a little bit of a exposed concrete slab edge in this area. That would be the preferred detail at the base of the walls, but you're not going to alter all the landscaping for that instance. So electrical board fitted to this eastern side, plastic fuses, earth leakage or safety switch has been installed. There is no sign indicating any previous termite treatment to the property, so we don't know what was included as far as a termite prevention or a termite treatment at the time of construction. As far as we know, nothing has been done in this instance. Looking at this sign, again 2012, it just reconfirms that the property was probably built in 2012, and it's sort of coming up 2.5 years old, 3 years old thereabouts. So just a bit of an opportunity to look at the skillion roof detail to the north east corner of the dwelling at the rear. We look at the flashing details. You can see this sealant, and yeah, that sealant needs to be reapplied from time to time as part of general ongoing maintenance. In general, the skillion roof appears to be okay. There is no accessible roof void, so yeah, you can't view the roofing timbers in this instance, and those are areas where potentially faults can go undetected. Where you got the flat flashings, again, areas where sealants do need to be reapplied from time to time as part of your general ongoing maintenance. Fascia details are metal and compressed fibre cement sheet soffit details. The gutters contain a little bit of water, just the wrong fall to the gutter and a bit of silt, so you want to clean those gutters on a regular basis as part of your general ongoing maintenance. There is an area just at the rear here where you've got a little bit of a gap. You want to seal that gap so you don't get rainwater driving in and getting in to those concealed areas. You know, that's always our concern, that moisture to elevated areas has the potential to attract the likes of termites. So, you know, just good maintenance practices in that instance. A bit of an oversight at the time of construction. And just a bit of an opportunity to look at that top ledge detail. It looks to be okay. No real issues there. Okay, coming up into the roof void, and this is to the upper level roof void. We can't gain access to the lower level roof void, but within this upper level roof void we've got thermal insulation over ceiling linings. That thermal insulation obstructs visual inspection of numerous roofing timbers and top wall plates. Unfortunately, it really is a matter of what you can see, what you can't, and there is always the potential for faults to go undetected as such. We do see the top plates. We sort of tap those areas, see that we're not getting any hollows. The details appear to be quite okay. Now there have been some downlights installed, and where we've got downlights installed, no, there's no downlights actually. This is all the alarm system. So a little bit messy there on the alarm system. Thermal insulation simply needs redistribution for improved efficiency of the thermal insulation within this upper level roof void. Arcing to the underside of roof tiles obstructs visual inspection of roof tile battens and the underside of the roof tile. So yeah, it does lock in humidity, and all the more important to consider installing a whirlybird to the roof. Trusses generally appear to be fairly straight, no issues there. Now we can see a bit of a time code on the gypsum plasterboard, and we can see that the plasterboard's from 2012, another indicator of the age of the building. Getting to the rear side of the roof void, it does get a little bit tight to crawl through those areas, but certainly still accessible. Surrounds the antenna pole, no evidence of any moisture coming through that penetration of the roof. Just some of the creeper trusses are a little bit unusual in their detail, but yeah, I would imagine that would have been looked at the time of construction and approved with a framing inspection as such, but yeah, the ends of those creeper trusses are not supportive. So you've seen the video, you've seen the detail. Really nothing to be overly concerned about. A good idea to get the bottoms of the doors painted, for example, as as part of your general ongoing maintenance, and that is just to prolong their durability in general terms. Generally speaking, any moisture issues that do arise from time to time, always make it a priority to get them sorted out. It's moisture that causes decay to timbers, it's moisture that can attract termites, and it's moisture that contributes to deterioration of various building components. So always important to keep that in mind when owning and maintaining a property. Termites, no history of termites being observed. There are areas that are conducive or susceptible to termites, and there's also no evidence of a previous termite treatment having been carried out since the time of construction. So certainly worthwhile considering putting in a chemical barrier to the exterior of the building as a preventative measure. And yeah, I'd suggest a chemical barrier utilising something like Termidor as the preferred method of a chemical treatment. Areas that are conducive and susceptible to termites, if you can alter some of those details, assure you're going to reduce your risk of termites to some degree. What's really important to understand though is that you're never going to eliminate the risk of termites. The risk of termites will always exist, and therefore periodic inspections are considered absolutely essential. The risk of termites is a bit higher in this area simply because beyond the street, or to the south side of the street, is a reserve, is an open area, an area where termites certainly could go in their natural habitat, totally undetected and unchecked, and hence any of the buildings in those outer areas of this residential development are going to have a higher risk of termites to a degree, and it's just important to understand that. The video is great in the sense that you can review details, you can take in the information, share the video around where necessary. Always nice to share with family, friends, colleagues and the like. The video file itself, just download a copy of the file into a folder on your computer where you can remember where it is, so you can refer back to it in the future, be it in the weeks to come, months to come, years to come. Really handy bit of footage to have and be able to reference back to. Like any business, word of mouth is always very much appreciated. I go to a lot of effort to put a video together for people, and the videos that I do create really are unique and one of a kind. I wish you the best with the rest of the purchase process. Any questions, certainly get back to me and ask me those questions.